Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Welcome to another episode of Breaking Brews. I am your host, Commander Claw, where I give you 5 cards for these popular EDH commanders, and nonetheless, this is one of the most popular cards ever in my book, or in my opinion. Anyways, this is the Scarab God, a dimir commander, and it is all about zombies, but it's also about reanimation and the eternalized ability. So, without further ado, I will be gladly and honored to tell you how to play with them and what you can do with the cards that I recommend. Commander Claw. Let's get it started. For 3 blue and a black, you have a 5/5 body on a legendary creature god. He says at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. Just to let you know, the Scarab God is not a zombie. Okay, so he does not count for his own ability. Next up, you pay 2 blue and a black. Any amount of times you can do this. Exile target creature card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. If you don't know, that is the eternalized mechanic where creatures come back from the graveyard as a 4/4 black zombie. Then the Scarab God says, when he dies, return to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This is amazing. So he's very hard to permanently eliminate. The only way to really get rid of him is to pacify him. Not even that. Never mind. You have to exile him. So the commander has to go back to the command zone and pay an extra 2 mana. So the strategies with this bad boy are generally milling your opponents or yourself and reanimating creatures from anybody's graveyard. Also, at the same time, they become zombies, so you are able to drain life. And don't forget, you can also put zombies on the battlefield yourself. A lot of them if you really wanted to. So without further ado, let me get to the first set of cards, pitching creature cards into your graveyard or your opponent's graveyard. So for one black, Tortured Existence over here on the left hand side says pay 1 black mana, choose and discard a creature card, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is just a nice exchange to put a creature that you want to put in a graveyard and bring back a creature from your graveyard. But ultimately, you can reanimate it with the Scarab God at a lower cost if you need to. But also at the same time, bring back a utility creature. You can get creative on the creature combinations or infinite combos that you want to do with your commander, the Scarab God. And believe me, you can do that. Next up, we got Ret Tomb Mystic. It's a new card from the Aetherdrift Precon with Temmet for 1 and a blue. It's a 2/1 body. Zombie bird wizard. Caw-caw! Anyway, it has flying. Each creature card in your hand has cycling. Pay 1 and a blue. Discard that card, draw a card. That is disgusting. So literally, any creature card that you need to put in your graveyard or you want to draw a card, you are able to do that with Ret Tomb Mystic. It's just an enabler to put cards in your graveyard and the draw card. But don't underestimate the discard that card effect. That is a great ability because there's cards that have payoffs that say whenever a card is discarded, you get something. Remember that. Moving on to Reanimating. So I have his Reanimation Eternalized ability circled over here on the left-hand side in circle. Look at the cost for it. That is 4 mana. That is expensive, especially in Dimir, because you're not making a lot of you're not mana ramping that well. There are a couple cards that can do that. So the best way to negate this expensive activated ability is by using the card Training Grounds. For 1 blue, it says it's an enchantment. It says activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. So essentially, Training Grounds paired with Scarab Gods, you pay blue and a black to reanimate any creature from any graveyard at instant speed. That literally, you're just limited to the amount of blue black mana you have instead of paying for. Auto include. Moving on to reanimating creatures. Now, besides using the Scarab God's ability to reanimate creatures, there might be moments in the game where you need a more powerful effect, like Rise of the Dark Realms over here on the left-hand side for a total of 9 mana. It's a sorcery that says put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. This is a game-winning card. Just think about all the powerful creatures that you have milled or made your opponents mill or your opponents have put into the graveyard because they have died, all on your side. That's a game-winning card. For 9 mana, it better be. Next up, we got Victimize. It's a very good rate. For 2 and a black sorcery, choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. This is literally a 2-for-1. Most of the time, I have a Grave Crawler, which is a 1 black mana zombie, and I sacrifice it to get 2 creature cards from my graveyard to put them into play. And guess what? Most likely they are zombies, so I can recast the Grave Crawler. What do you say? Moving on to my favorite card for the Scarab God. And it's not on EDH Rec. I promise you. I promise you. I thought of this myself. So let me show you. So we have the Dragon Arch for 5 mana. It's an artifact. You tap 2 mana and you tap it. You may put a multicolored creature from your hand onto the battlefield. Why is this good? Because if you played with the Scarab God before, his last ability says when he dies, return it to his owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So in general, when he goes to your hand at the beginning of the next end step, you have to recast him and pay 5 mana. And you're limited to your turn. However, Dragon Arch negates that. You can just pay 2 mana and put him back onto the battlefield after the beginning of the next end step. So this gives you the ability to cast him right before your turn happens. And if you have zombies on the battlefield, you get to continuously scry X and drain life. Nasty. Or you can put him back onto the battlefield as a blocker. He's a 5/5 body. That's a big body right there. I know you like this. Hit that like button if you like this card and you actually made it to this part of the video. Thank you. Now, moving on to cards that are better for the Scarab God in the 99. So this is a new commander from the Aetherdrift set, Temmet, Naktamun's Will. For 2 white, blue, and a black, it's a 4/4 zombie wizard. He is just like Varina in a way where they want you to focus on attacking with your zombies and going wide with your zombies. I don't want to go over completely too much because I actually have a video on Temmet that you can watch right above here and click on to get more description of her, but a super fun commander, super popular commander. Who doesn't like making tokens and who doesn't like making zombies that swing and attack? Moving on to the next commander. What do you know? We have Hashaton Scarab's Fist. Scarab God, Scarab's Fist. This is the Scarab God's right-hand man. Hashaton is a zombie wizard on a 1/3 body. I'm going to summarize what he does because if you don't know what he does, he's one of the most popular commanders. Actually, you do know what he does because you like zombies and that's why you watch this video. Anyway, what he wants you to do is put creature cards from your hand into the graveyard in order for you to reanimate them. What makes him very powerful, he's white, blue, and black. And you only have to pay 3 mana to bring back a creature. And guess what? That creature doesn't get exiled either. You just make a copy. So he gets crazy. They also consider him almost CEDH level. Depends how you want to play with him. Like that's his oracle. But enough toting Hashaton Scarab's Fist, the Scarab God's right-hand man. Moving on to another commander. So like I mentioned before, we got Varina the Lich Queen. She was probably the first Esper zombie tribal commander out there. She wants you to go wide. She wants you to create tokens, but she's amazing because she has an attack trigger. She allows you to draw cards. You discard cards. You gain that much life. So this ultimately allows you to play with your entire library by self-milling and putting cards in your graveyard that you want to reanimate some way, somehow. Think about all the cards that I showed you previously in this video. And all you got to do is tap 2 mana to exile 2 cards from the graveyard that you self-milled to create a zombie token. Man, that is a lot on one commander for 4 mana total. Auto, it's a very fun commander. Very fun commander. Attack, combat focus. Moving on to cards you may have missed. And these cards actually work with all these commanders that I just showed you. So on the left here, I have a land. I talk about these because I think a lot of players skip over lands. Yeah, they do. Unholy Grotto. Tap it for colors mana. Otherwise, tap a black. Put target zombie card from your graveyard on top of your library. This is a great way. to reanimate creature. Nah, I can't call it reanimation. You're putting creatures at the top of your library right before you draw your draw step. This is a really good card. It really is. This also encourages players to exile players' graveyards because guess what? You keep putting on a creature, keep returning a creature to the top of your library, gets very annoying. Anyway, next up is Curse of the Restless Dead. It is an enchantment where you enchant a player. It says whenever a land enters the battlefield under enchanted player's control, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. The reason why I really like this card because it's just an easy zombie token generator. Players are putting lands onto the battlefield every turn. They're not going to stop doing that because they need lands. So when they play a land, you get a 2/2 zombie. And think about all those players that are doing landfall or can play multiple lands per turn. You want to put this enchantment onto them. Moving on to the summary. Thank you for watching this episode, Breaking Brews, of the Scarab God, one of my favorite commanders ever. If you are watching this video, it's probably because you are a zombie player yourself and you're looking for new ideas. And I think the Dragon Arch is a very creative way to return the Scarab God to your hand if your opponent decides to just, kill him without exiling him. Otherwise, one of the top commanders out there, super popular, super fun, unlimited in ways of putting creatures onto the battlefield, and you're not limited to just your creatures either. Your opponent's graveyard is just a creative playground for you to win the game. Anyways, I'm out. Commander Claw, please consider liking and subscribing if I brought any type of value to you. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to you commenting below for any other card suggestions that the community would like to have. Peace.